Je suis live. Hey, Ruther. Hello, Sean the Tiger. I've always wondered whether that's just like Shona Tigere or something. Hey, Tsulu. How do I pronounce that? Salishe. Hey, Dr. Ndlovu. Hello, Troy. I actually think Shona Tigere works, eh? Come on. Can we just... Shona Tigere. Nick has just joined. I'm going to invite him, but we'll wait for people to come in first.
Now, can we see each other?
Not yet. Wait until I can see you.
Okay. Oh, I should wait a bit. Okay.
I can't see you.
Let me
Can you
see.
Are you covering the thing with your finger? The camera with your hand.
No, it's open. What should I do now? I can see it. Let me see. You can't see me, no?
No, I can't. Let me try to what you call it. Let me put you off and then try to get you again.
Okay, cool.
Alrighty. Okay. Right. Niq Mhlongo loading, take 4.
What is happening here? Okay.
No, I think it's just you, my friend. I don't know. I don't know. I could see you clearly the last time. Are you sure your camera is on selfie mode?
On selfie mode, let me just check. Selfie mode.
Yeah.
Can you see me?
You see.
Oh, okay.
Now I can see you.
Okay. All right.
Hey, and if people are trolling you, apparently they've just realized that your country is a third world country.
Yeah, I'm 47. I'm 47, so people should realize that these things, man, are very difficult for us. Eh? I can see. Okay, all right. You can see me clearly, eh?
I can see you absolutely clearly.
Oh,
very clearly. Yeah.
That's why SK Ndlovu said, finally, yes, finally.
Yes, Dr. Ndlovu.
Yeah.
She was asking about you every season, hey?
Oh, thank you so much. She even sent me a message yesterday saying that she's looking forward. Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
thank you for
but you know, Dr. Ndlovu is not Tag Troy. Dr. Ndlovu is not loyal though, because Nick, if you knew before you came along, she was all about this Angolan guy called Kalaf. Then the other time, you know, but Njenga Manje, you arrive and then she suddenly acts like she's your #1 fan.
Yes,
there it is.
Yes, thank you. Keep it up, Dr. Ndlovu. Thank you.
No, it's like my last. In season 5, she'll want somebody else. Dr. Ndlovu, how are you? It's always so great to see you. No, Dr. Ndlovu did not dump Kalaf.
Yeah.
Dr. Ndlovu, she didn't dump Kalaf. Anyway, what you drinking? What beer are you drinking?
It's called something called Kirsch. Kirsch. It tastes like peace, actually.
Okay.
Not really my favorite. You know, when you go to buy, I only look at the percentage. So anything that is more than 4%, I buy.
So yeah, like more than was it like, is it more than Castle Light percentage content?
Yeah. It's more than Castle Light, actually.
So it's like Vento.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, it's more like Vento, but maybe my taste buds are still in Berlin, you know, because it doesn't taste nicer than I like it. Yeah. But anyway, I'll drink it because I already bought it. So
You'll just finish it, huh?
yeah. No, I haven't. Oh, okay.
Which one?
Who are you talking to there?
I don't know. I'm talking to myself. Anyway, right. Hello, Afroculture. Hey,
Yes,
Maza.
Afroculture. I'm meeting him not so long actually. After this, we're going to African Drum together in Cologne.
Are you? You know, my friend, you're not allowed to like play the African drum without dreadlocks, eh?
Actually, I'll buy some on my way. They sell dreadlocks here. I think it attracts white people, so that's what I have to buy.
Okay, all right. Now, let's pretend that you never did the reading that you did before,
Yeah.
and we're gonna start. We can
Okay.
start with the reading, and then we'll go wild.
All right, cool. I'm reading from my short story collection called Affluenza. Here it is. It was published in 2016. And then I'm reading the first short story there called The Warning Sign. Well, of course, I'm taking it from the top. Warning Sign. Property of the Land Redistribution Committee of Mzansi. The sight of the sign left an unpleasant taste in his mouth. He pressed his chin into the collar of his khaki shirt, an action that gave his face an expression of displeasure. Kefas. He said as he began removing the sign. What the fuck do they know about farming? The only thing they know how to grow is babies. Frowning and clenching his jaw, Mr. Adams carried on walking, the sign in his hand. He knew that it had been placed there by the group of men and women that had come to his farm uninvited a week earlier. If it were not for us white people, these monkeys would still be praying to their clueless ancestors. They would have no idea of the vast mineral wealth below the soil. Mr. Adams sat down in the dimpled shade provided by an acacia tree, his rifle across his knees. Bees hovered over the brightly colored flowers that protruded from the tree, and the sound of them going about their business began to lull him to sleep. As he dozed under the tree, his mind began replaying the events of the previous week. I'm in charge of the land which Mr. Rance, your neighbor, used to own, one of the men said. He had a limp. I'm the commander of the land committee. What does that have to do with me? Mr. Adam asked. Your farm is next. My men will come and survey your land next week. Then you will be required to take your things and go. This is not the way things are done here. This is not Zimbabwe. There is a rule of law. Mr. Adams had protested slowly and scornfully. You can't simply take people's land without paying for it. The soil is ours. We have no obligation to pay you compensation. You stole the land from us, just like the Americans stole the land from the Native Americans, the Australians from the Aborigines. What are you trying to do? What you're trying to do is illegal and unconstitutional. You can't just pick and choose which laws to obey. People like Mandela fought so much that we could live peacefully. Mandela was a traitor. You settlers took the land from us without paying for 8 centuries ago. Why should we entertain any ideas of legality? I paid for this land. Nothing is free in this world. Mandela's weakness was that he wanted to act morally and legally when your ancestors acted immorally and illegally. But he created a spirit of reconciliation and forgiveness. He created a rainbow nation. Fuck that. There is no black in the rainbow. But I bought this land. I have a title deed. Where do you think I must go to? We don't care. The commander had said, his gaze unflinching. This is our land. You white settlers took the land from us without paying for it. We can, in a similar way, take it back from you without paying for it. Can there be peace in this country? Mr. Adams said, exclaimed. You can't separate peace from land. No white person would be at peace until the land is returned to the people. By that time, Mr. Adams' sons had arrived. What's going on, Pops? George had asked. We all have the right to live here, Mr. Adams had said, ignoring his son. Historically, there were no black people here when the white arrived in the early 1600s. The Ngunis were all there in northern KwaZulu, Mpumalanga, Swaziland, and Mozambique. The Xhosas were in the Eastern Cape across the Fish River, and the Pedis were living in the caves in the Skukuni land. You have no right to claim this land. Just because you are black doesn't mean that you have a blank check for this entire region. This is the land of our ancestors, and we farmed here before you whites came. You can't blame us for what our ancestors did to you, your ancestors, James had said. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much. It's so nice to read this.
Go on.
No, I was
it's
just
so nice to read.
To read this piece from this time here in Cologne, actually, and you know, with what is going on around the world at the moment, and more especially in South Africa, you know, the land being going to the back to the parliament and stuff like that. So I'm following it actually, and I'm thinking, the relevance of this book, of this story, actually still exists even now. Yeah.
All right. Now, if you had your choice of the land, which land would you take back in South Africa? Which part do you want?
Hey, my friend, Sandton. Actually, Sandton, I'll just take it. And then, yeah, it will be mine. Sandton, all of Sandton, and then all the way to...
No, I want all the French, okay? And Stellenbosch.
Yeah, those ones, yeah, actually that one. But it's too far for me. I don't like those ones, you know. I think I'll
No, but that can be a holiday home.
Yeah, I'll reserve that for people who are staying there. Tandom, Kolozana can take it, you know. But oh yeah, also Franschhoek, I just need a little place. It's not Cape Town is not an interesting place for me. The soil is, you know, it's just, I studied there. I never liked it that much. It's even without a soil, it just looks like an area which has been colonized, as it has been colonized a long time ago. It doesn't look fine to me to have it. So Joburg, I know I'll take from until all that land from you see in Sandton all the way to where Goethe Institute is. I'll take also the Goethe Institute. They will be paying rent to me, and then all the way to Melville, and then own it, and also Wits University. That would be my land. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what mine would be in Joburg?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine would be. I just want that whole Stain City thing.
Oh yes.
That whole Stain City, with its buildings and mansion and everything. That one. And then my holiday home will be, I'll have two holiday homes. One will be a wine farm in Franschhoek. Another one will be like, you know, with a little boat and stuff and everything in the Eastern Cape, like Port Alfred. In fact, I don't even call it Port Alfred anymore. I even call it Zukiswa Wanner.
I like that. I like that. But I will take also, if I have to take it in Cape Town, actually, it will be an area by a Paarl. So I won't be very much far from you because Cape Town is also very small. So I will be, that vineyard will be mine, the one that produces what you are drinking at the moment. So you won't be able to. You'll just always buy it. You won't buy it. You'll always get it for free, my friend, as a neighbor.
I know from the field, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, but back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got this, and then you wrote Soweto Under the Apricot Tree as your short story collections. But you have something that's about to come out very soon. Tell us more about that work.
Okay, I've got 2 works that are coming out. Let me tell you about.
Yeah, overachiever.
No, I actually, it sounds very easy, but I've been writing this book of mine even before Way Back Home came in 2013. Actually, Way Back Home, I felt like I failed to write this book. It just that the characters just went differently from the way I wanted them to do, you know. And then I decided, okay, these characters want me to write Way Back Home, but I still need to write a story. So it's called Paradise in Gaza. It's set, it's a novel that is set in the 70s in both Joburg, but also a fictional place in around Mozambique. So it's Mozambique, South Africa, rural area, and then also Soweto. So it's a work of fiction, of course, with the names that I've made up. Gaza is a name that I've made up, although there's a name
There's
called
Gaza province.
Province in Mozambique, and also there used to be Gaza Kulu in Limpopo.
In
Yeah.
Limpopo, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a story set there, but the exciting thing about this story is that it's the story that looks into African way of healing. So it's a story about healing. It's mostly, as I say, a continuation of what I've already written in Way Back Home, something that I had failed for the past 8 years or 10 years to write. So it's a very exciting book. It's coming out in October. Let me say it to be safe, October. Yeah. So the second one is a book. It's called Josie Noah. So in this book, I've decided will be published by Jacana. The other one would be published by my publisher Kwela. This one is published by Jacana. It's stories about Joburg as we've never experienced, something that we have never experienced before. Some of the stories are very exciting. People talking about how.
So it's part of the. Is it part of the Akashic Noir series? The Addis Ababa Noir that Maza Mangiste is doing,
yes,
and the Nairobi Noir that Peter did.
Yes, yes, yeah. But
and you're editing. What are some of the writers that we can expect to see in it?
Some of the writers, Niq Mhlongo is there, and then Sipho Mahala is there, and then quite a number of writers. I'm just from my back. Okay. Keleto Mopai is there. Yewanda Omotoso is there.
Mohale Mashigo, I think, is there.
No, Mohale couldn't. Earlier on, we had spoken that, and then she couldn't because of something that she was involved in. So I've got all in all 22 stories. So the difference between it and the Noirs that we have mentioned, the Nairobi Noir, the Lagos Noir, and so forth, is that I've tried to make it a combination of short stories as well as non-fiction. People writing about, as I'm saying, Melville. Where the central hub of Joburg actually, as in Yeoville, where they used to go around that time. How Kwaito started, how people used to own houses like May Yvonne Chaka Chaka. So I've got very nice people, like, for instance, Gloria Bosman, for instance, the musician. She tells about the stories, her journeys that are attached to that particular place. The way she got into music and whatever. So it's quite interesting. So it's a combination. So there will be about 15 short stories in it, as well as about the rest will be non-fiction.
Essays.
Yeah, essays. Yeah. So it's quite exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you've recently, you've been a very busy man, because you also really did edited the anthology Black Tax.
Yes.
Which is absolutely brilliant, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Now, my question on that is, when do you decide which projects to take or not? When people say to you, because you're at that stage now, they're like, Niq, can you work with us on this project? When do you decide, I'll take this project and, or this is a lot of cack, I don't want it?
Yeah, when I'm not busy, that's the first thing to do. Yeah, when I'm not busy and when the money is good. You know,
Okay.
I've got three children to look to look after. So, you know,
You've got children to look after and beer to buy.
And beer to buy. So, but also when the story is exciting, Black Tax has been an exciting thing for me to do, because it has been. I've realized that every towards December, actually, there will be something will be trending to say, I'm not going home. I'm not going home. I don't have money. Oh, my mother asked me to buy her this and this. Oh, there's a funeral of some so and so, you know, such kind of thing. So I realized that it's a collective problems with us as Black people, actually. And it's something that we need to talk about. And then I must say that I've learned a lot from it, in the sense that these are the things that I was not even aware. People telling me that actually this is structurally, it was structured by apartheid for Black people not to have generational wealth. So I decided, okay, it is a debate, although the book is not conclusive, it is a debate that is necessary for us to talk about, you know. And I've realized that many South Africans at the moment, actually those that are reading it, it's a continuous debate. They are reading it, and then we're opening up amongst ourselves. You know, we're opening up, and I'm learning a lot. Okay, there's a gambling mother over there. Oh, then I can say, okay, also my sister there. So I get solutions as well as a comfort from other people that share my culture and my history. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things that comes up in your short story, which you just read to us, the warning sign, is yes, and I saw Makanaka right there in the audience saying, okay, right. You know, you use the line that a lot of white South Africans, whenever Black South Africans ask for any rights, throw at Black South Africans, they always say, well, you know, okay, if you decide to do this, we're gonna become another Zimbabwe. And I wanted you to talk about that.
Yeah, you know, in my writing, Zukiswa, it's not a writing that I think I'm more of a realistic kind of a writer. You know, if I go in a pub and I talk to you, and then you mention something, we debate over something, and then that's something that comes out. It becomes always my line. So that's why people resonate with whatever I'm written, with my dialogue. People always say, "Oh, your characters are real." It's because I steal from people. That's my job as a writer. I steal from your mouth, you know? So if you're not willing to write it, I will write it. So I'll write it the way I've had it and the way it's being spoken.
And the way it resonates with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Incidentally, talking about this, because we're talking about just recently, I think it was this last weekend or a few days ago, one of the deputy president of Zimbabwe, when people complained that the economy is going badly, apparently there's supposed to be a protest on July 31. The last time that you and I were in Zim together was the weekend of July 30 when there were those elections. The final rally, actually, before the elections. But what I wanted to ask you about...
Yeah, I was saying the one that we went to, or not? The rally.
Yeah, that one in 2018.
In Harare,
yeah. But what I wanted to ask you about is, so this guy, he's asked, he says the economy is not doing well. People are complaining the economy is not doing well. And then he's at a rally. Zimbabwe is now 40 years independent. And this guy said, well, the economy is not doing well because when the colonialists left, they didn't teach us how to farm. They didn't give us any skills. Do you think there's any logic to this? Do you think he's making sense? Do you think the masters should have taught us? You know, after 40 years in any African country, do you think so?
I would say that we've been farming throughout. You know, we've been farming. So to me, it's an excuse which is inexcusable. So in a sense that we have been farming throughout, although maybe not in a commercial way that is done at the moment. But I think in most cases is that what I've realized is that African leaders, the ones that we elect in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, especially Southern Africa, we elect so much apologetic leaders, you know. So if there's a bill going on within the ANC now, I mean, within the caucus now, people start coming. When people start coming and say, you will be like Zimbabwe. And then the leaders are withdrawing. They withdraw because they respect too much of their, you know, of this white counterpart.
Yes.
In some of these things, they don't have to. So there's too much of compromise, the apologeticness. Okay, are whites safe? Of course, they won't be safe if ever. No one will give you the land if you don't want to take it. So that's why I like the fact that we have an opposition party which is strong within the EFF. I'm not part of them, but they are strong. They are giving those challenges. They're throwing those challenges to the, you know, to our leaders. And then I'm just happy that I think that our problem in most cases, as I'm saying, is being apologetic. The leaders are being apologetic, and the fact that what they need. I think it's a high time that most African states, more especially those ones like in the southern part of Africa, us, Zimbabwe and whatever, get a real younger leader who is not afraid, who's able to talk in the language that that we don't care whether it offends or not. Of course, when you talk about land, it's a language that is offensive to certain sections of the society. So it's a problem. I'm just saying that it's if you're going back to your question, I think it's a debate. It's a question that it's not. It doesn't hold water to say that they should have taught us, you know, because we have been who is actually within those lands. Who is actually, because these ones are just coming with ideas. But if you look at the real people that are working on those farms, are the real people that we need to invest in, you know. Those are black people. They are the ones that are working on the farm, and then under the direction of white masses. So it doesn't hold water. If we give them an opportunity, we give them the skill. I mean, the skills are already there because they are the ones that are. They are the ones. I don't think the masses know actually how to cut the grapes and make wine, for that matter. You know, they're just directing. They own the farm, but the farm is worked by people. So we need leaders. I think, from my own point of view, leaders that are young, that will talk into this, that will actually, they're young, energetic, and that normally don't think around their stomach, you know, with their stomachs, because the leaders are like that. They're thinking of, okay, what am I gaining from that, you know? So the older generation.
Somebody just commented, Dr. Ndlovu commented that from what you said about getting Santon and Paarl and, you know, Melville, they're worried that it looks like you're going to be taking the land from everybody else, you know, and you're not going to leave the land for any of us.
No, actually, what's happening is that there's too much land, man. I mean, there's I'm just leaving. There are so many areas, like for instance, towards the Hartebees Dam. You can have that. The mountain is there, beautiful.
Oh, we can just give them Namibia.
Exactly. Why not? They can own the desert and also the beautiful city of Windhoek, and we'll give them the sand as well. So it's fine. Sand dunes.
Yeah. Okay, another question here. What inspired After Tears? According to the reader, the book saved their life.
Thank you very much. So what inspired After Tears, to be honest with you, it's me failing law. I tried to do law at the university. So what happens is that I realized that when I was studying at UCT, there were people actually that when, you know, I studied during the time when the university were not gated, you know. So you'll find that at the TV room every day, there was this particular individual at the TV room every day. They're watching TV. It's exam time, they're watching TV. So I realized that this might be one of the people that had, you know, might have told their parents that, or whoever at home, they've got a pressure at home to disclose that they've failed. And then that's how I had to write it. But also in my own family, I had a brother who used to study at the University of Natal. Elvis, you might know him. University of
Yeah,
Natal.
of course,
So,
I know Elvis.
yeah, so all of us, you know, when you are in the township, you never heard about the university. The university is it's a formerly white university, University of Natal. So we were counting, oh, it's his first year. To be a doctor takes 7 years. And then all this 8 years and 9 years. And my brother, we cannot, because in my home, when we have to direct somebody, so, oh, by the doctor's place, you know, but this person has never, this person is still doing it. So we were not aware that Elvis was still doing second year or third year, you know, but, you know, so, the story inspired me, and I thought, okay, the problem is that we have a lot of, it's the same problem that this guy that I've talked about earlier at the UCT had, you know. So the problem is the pressures, social pressure from home, because our mothers have already labeled us. So I just thought, okay, let me write a story about a failure, but using my own experience as well. Because when I failed law, I disappointed many people at home. And the problem is I'm one of the people that wasted lots of government money. I've been at the university for 8 years, and the only thing that I can show is one degree, you know, which is PA. So I should have showed them that there's a law degree. So the story inspired it. So coming from my own experiences, taking it to other people's experiences, and I made their experiences my own experience. I changed here and there. So that's the reason why the story resonates with everybody. Everybody knows somebody who's Nyawana in their home, whether they have a leg or not. They know them, they are drinkers, they text them. Everyone knows that particular taxi driver who lives in the backyard, you know. So I decided, let me write a story around these people and showing the social, how we, as Black people, sometimes, in most cases, we have these pressures from home to do well at home. And our mothers already concluding that we already have careers, even if we don't have, you know. So yeah, it's a real life experience, and I'm glad that it resonates with people. And
Friend, I could actually tell you about doing a year of pre-med and then going to my mom's village in Zim, and some grandmother had, you know, the word had been going around about how now I was a doctor. So some grandmother came and said that her hand was hurting. So she said, my hand is hurting. Hey, doctor, my hand is hurting. Dude, I was doing pre-med. And so she said to me, what can I do? What can I do? And I said, no. Have you tried to take Panadol? And she said, Panadol. And I said, yes, Panadol. And she went and she took Panadol. I'm telling you, she's still not dead. She's still alive. Up until today, she talks about how I cured her.
Imagine. And that story resonates well with my experience as well. So the parts where I've written about law, why I decided to write about the lawyer is, well, of course, me. But I went to, I used to go to listen to cases at the Frontières Magistrate Court. And I'm telling you, there was a guy who was arrested. We all knew him as a prosecutor. But after 15 years, we heard that he was arrested. And then why? The guy never went to even a university. So he used to go there and listen. So he got used to the to magistrate. He got used to everybody. So there was a lot of corruption. So he will tell you if you are arrested for drunken driving. I think my friend and I were arrested for drunken driving. So we had to go and appear in the court. And this guy said, okay, you work for government. He told my friend, you work for government. If you want this case to disappear, what you can do is that pay this much. I know how the case will go. And indeed, it went that way because he managed to speak to magistrate, you know, who was not qualified, by the way, you know. So the stories resonate. And then I thought, okay, now I know how to write this story because it is the true story. It reflects exactly what is happening within my society. And when the guy was arrested, I was exonerated. I said, okay, good, you know. You know?
Right. Ndego wants to know what influenced the move from first person with your first two books, Dog Eat Dog and After Tears, to third person in Way Back Home.
I think it is the story itself. So the story of Way Back Home is different from the stories that you have mentioned, After Tears and Dog Eat Dog, because Dog Eat Dog talks about a young person's experience, and they're both within or half within the setting of a university environment. But now I wanted to talk about exile and inside, you know, and combining it with the African spirits, how the African spirits are evoked in these levels, you know, the emotional and psychological traumas that people have suffered. So what I could do to get it closer to what I wanted to do was to write it in a third person perspective, because it will resonate well with a guy coming from exile. Because already people now thought, okay, they already, with Dog Eat Dog and After Tears, are already given away my experiences as a you know, as a human being, you know. But now, if I had written a story as if I'm coming from exile, it wouldn't have worked. It would have worked well because I wanted to get an older guy. I mean, the main character is an older guy, and he has been in all these places and have done lots of things. So I could only choose one person so that the society could blame, not me. Because everyone now associates what happens with Dog Eat Dog with me, you know. Yeah, when I talk about somebody going to the toilet, yeah, they always
that little anecdote. Do you want to talk about it in Dog Eat Dog? When they go to the doctor and when they go to the campus nurse and stuff, and the dude has like an STI.
Yeah. I want to talk about it. It's most of the things that happen there are not necessarily my experiences, né? But there are experiences of my own that I put in the book. Like for instance, I used to work in the, you know, when in the campus you used to work.
Yeah.
And so I was to work for your bursary, for instance, you are assigned to a place that you can work to. So I worked at the doctor's office, you know, filling in the forms and whatever. So most of the things that people that came to the doctor, it was like most of the guys. You remember it was the time of when the condom was South Africans never did use condom at that time. So
yeah.
most of the stories of these young people were about you know, having an STD and whatever. So
okay.
So that's the thing so I use that their experiences, combined it with my own experiences and other things that I could imagine to make a story work, to tell a story about a young
Okay, my friend.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that even if it was your own experience, we wouldn't judge you because this is a safe space.
I know,
so,
I know.
Next question. Next question. James wants to know, how did you move from being a writer of short story collections and being a novelist to being an editor? Was that a huge challenge?
Yeah, it was a huge challenge. But let me put this into perspective. An editor here, you know, I'm not talking about, because there are different levels of editing. So there's copy editing and whatever. So I did mostly the most important kind of editing, which is developmental kind of editing. What is that? Is having to choose the right people, looking at the story, whether it works. Can we shift that over there? Can we add this over here? So it's and I didn't do the you know, the line editing, copy edit, because I'm not good in English, but I did the bulk of the editing. I'm the one who took this from the ground, and then and there were lots of stories that were there, and then I just decided, okay, this one will work, this one will not work, and whatever, you know. So, but it's a huge shift. It's a very, and it's a greatest responsibility. More especially if I was lucky that I was working with Jacana. With Jonathan Ball. Annie has been an amazing person. Yeah. So because Annie, what we do, it's more important for editor to have contact with writers. They have to know each and every stage of their story. You know, so that takes a dedication over a particular work. You know, over a particular work. Yeah. So it's a huge responsibility because now you have to micromanage people. You know, you have to ask people nicely whether they can change this and this. There will be somebody who will be adamant. No. I want it to be a black person that dies, and say no, but it has to be a white person. You know, all those little things.
I hear you.
All those things. And they sound, but they're very much important. You know. So you have to micromanage people in that way and establish a particular rapport. Hello? What's happening?
Yes, hi, I'm still here.
Okay.
No. What you call it just, yeah.
Yeah.
I mistakenly just...
Okay, so it's a matter of establishing a very greatest rapport. You can never be, I don't think from my experience, one can be a good editor without having a good relationship with people. Like you say, you are a very greatest editor because you know us. Whenever I say something to you, you can easily put it in the way that me and you will agree that this is the right way. So that's the challenge about it. Before, I never had that. When Kwela, for instance, said to me, that story will tickle lots of whites and say, that's what I wanted to do, you know? So I'll be adamant. Okay, can we shift the stories to we can no longer publish it now, and can we publish it later? You know, such kind of things. So you have to be, it takes a lot of things. So it teaches you social skill first. It teaches you how to talk to people over beer, for instance, and then not to make promises that you cannot make. Because some people will say, you know, I'm well established. I'm a bigger writer. So I would like to have 10,000, you know, and then you have to look into the budget and say, no, this has to work this way, you know. So it taught me a lot, and then I'm still learning. That's what I'm saying. I'm still learning. Even black text itself, it's not conclusive. It's not perfect. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
It's not conclusive.
Remy wants to know: do you think everything black people write, especially fiction, is seen as being autobiographical? And why do you think people, no, I think Remy meant to say, why do you think whites find it so hard that people can simply imagine? So do you think everything that people write, especially fiction, is seen as being autobiographical? And why do you think whites find it so hard that people can simply imagine? Can be,
it is because they live. Okay, let me start by saying that everything, if you ever start your work with, I find that my experience is that I've been invited to different festivals, white, black, and whatever. But in most white festivals, so what they want to know is, so when they ask a question, so you went to the toilet. I'm asking a question about when you went to the toilet and then you saw somebody's penis written on the wall, you know, such kind of thing. So thinking that you are writing an autobiographical story, not about, so you cannot imagine things and start writing using a first person narrative. The moment a black person uses a first person narrative, it is their story. But
it's assumed to be autobiographical.
Yeah, but not only whites I've seen, but also some blacks who I think were learning at the moment. You know, at some point, you know, there will be people that will say,
when they're just starting to read.
Yes, I can be in an environment, and then when they are just starting to read, they do that. But I find that
I saw a review, for instance. I saw a review of Phumlani Pikoli's book. You know, where somebody was, and this book is a novel, but somebody was like, yeah, but this is not what we're doing with with Fees Must Fall. This is not, and I was just like, you do realize that this is a novel, right?
Yeah.
So, but then you can't even say anything at that time because you're like, you're in a different space with the reader.
Yes. Yeah. And it happened to me so many times. But at the moment, it's changing. Things are changing, more especially thanks to book clubs that are there, because they get the books, they dissect them, and then they talk about, they teach. Actually, they help us to teach readers how to read our work in most cases, you know. So, and that's why I'm so thankful about that. But in terms of white people doing that in most cases, I've realized that white people do that in most cases because they are aware, more especially South African whites. They never exactly, most of them never read black, literature or fiction by other black people except Eskia Mphahlele, for instance. Yeah, you know, the old guards, you know.
The drum era.
The drum era and whatever. And most of those writers, I'm sorry
generally, they needed to be dead. They needed the blacks needed to be dead in order for them to read them.
Exactly. And more especially what happens about, because we're trying to undo the drum era. One of the problems, I think the challenges that the drum era has done, you know, is that most of their stories were, autobiographical or memoirs and biographical and whatever. Yeah. So in most cases, what they did is that most white people thought like, whenever we write, we will write something that is a memoir. So never in any way did a person thought like Niq can write a story about certain events using first-person narrative, not having. I don't necessarily have to have experienced that, because writing in itself, experiences come from, is about you and I talking. I can take your experience and make it mine. So they never thought I can have that capability of, you know, getting a different perspective of a black life and putting together, you know. So everything will be biographical about that. So, but I think with me, I think personally, I should think that is because the literature that they knew existed before is a literature from the drum era. Drum era, Ken Tebas will talk about their own experiences in, you know, in a white setup. So everything that comes from that era, people will think like, or literature written by black people, is definitely about them having experienced this, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, what you call it? I saw another question here. Thanks for your concern, Dr. Mhlongo. I actually didn't fall. My phone is what fell. I am seated firmly on my bench right here. Remy wants to know, what shifting trends have you noticed between your generation and the younger generation of writers, and perhaps the older generation of writers? Have you seen any changes?
Yes.
And how we do things?
Yeah, I think first of all, let me describe this, the new generation, because we're generations of, we produce literature. In the past, it might have been really, well, I won't blame the other generation because they didn't write more, although they are glorified, of course, you know, they didn't write more than we did. We are writing a lot. Even when you look into South Africa after post 1994, the kind of literature that we have written, it's more than combined whatever they've written in the past. But still, we're still struggling to make things on our own. So the change is this. The change that has happened is that social media has helped us a lot. So there will be, stories will come as self-published. We no longer care about whether you are published by a well-known, so-called well-known publisher or not. So there will be lots of stories coming from different angles. Like, for instance, people that don't have stories that are coming online, self-published stories. And then also the subject matter is the subject matter that matters about Black people at the moment. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Lorraine has just written, edited a short, essays about how women combining, getting widows together to write their experience as Black women about losing their own, you know, their husband.
Identity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So our service no longer has a pillar as apartheid as a pillar, but our stories are vast at the moment, and it makes me proud for the now generation to the generation of writers that have come after me to or even now my contemporaries, what the kind of work that we have done. So there are lots of changes. The focus is no longer about one. We're no longer one. We're multi-dynamic, you know, in terms of the representation of our own society. We wouldn't have. Yeah. So that's the change actually, and I'm so glad that it's still people are still writing, and then they're writing about different topics that not only South African only mean to South Africa, but that mean to us.
Vast, beyond the borders. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another question comes up. Why is it that South African book clubs, but you're not part of a book club, so I'm not sure why you're expected to answer this, but I will ask anyway, because this guy is a troll and he'll keep harassing me. Why do South African book clubs have mostly men, have mostly women? Why are they founded by women? And where are the men? What are they busy doing? Watching pirates?
Yeah, men are claiming to be reading, you know, Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. They are claiming to be reading, what was that?
Capitalist nigger.
Yeah, capitalist nigger.
Capitalist nigger.
They are claiming to be reading Biko, you know. So, you know, with social media, it's very confusing at the moment. You might have seen it last week, Zooks, where a man, a Satuman was, I think, was interviewed, and he cleared his cupboard, you know, where he normally puts his plates, and then in order to put books, so that to claim that he's a reader. So most men, in a nutshell, are not great readers. They claim to be readers, and then that's my experience. And whatever you see posted in their Facebook, you must be very much careful about it, because nowadays you can go and Google and say, what did Steve Biko say about colonization, and then paste it there, and then people will think like we have read, you know. So that's what men do. So with women, I've realized that it's their way of life. Reading has become their way of life. That's why they are more advanced than us in terms of the South African women, in terms of how their scope of life in general, and their scope about South Africa, because they read, and then they read and they meet and discuss. So with men, it's more like we claim to be reading, but we don't. We're not reading at all. Yeah.
Right. We're almost towards the end of our broadcast. Okay, there's a question here. You and Nkoma are like the same age. Like you're like over 50, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. All I can say, I'm 13 years to pension. So I'll be getting I'll be getting my pension in 13 years. I'm 47.
Now, friend, you do realize that if the ANC stays in power, when you are 60, they will still say that you're a youth, right? You do understand that, right?
That's why I'm so
they'll say you can't get a pension.
These are the benefits of being ruled by the ANC. The only benefit is because, one, it doesn't get old in their eyes, you know. Julius Malema is still a young person to them. That's why in Parliament, so age doesn't matter according to them. So that's the only thing that I like about them, is that age doesn't matter. But
okay, right. Final question. Okay, maybe not final question. Maybe I'll ask one more question, but let me ask this one. Let me see how long it takes for you to answer. All right. What is actually the secret to how prolific you are? I mean, you went, when you did like Dog Eat Dog and After Tears, like really fast after each other, and then you had like this quiet period before you came out with Way Back Home, and then afterwards you were just like,
my friend, I found that being unemployed, it's the greatest gift actually, because you know, it's all about unemployment. So the gap that I took between After Tears 2008 and Way Back Home 2013 is because I used to be a teacher, you know.
I remember at Nemisa.
Misa, yeah. So, you know, if you, are that you do all these things, you have to take care of this, you know, the students and whatever. You have to mark and whatever. So now I'm a free spirit. I can drink my beer, you know, and then I can go to a pub and then listen to conversations. I can walk the streets. And I don't, at the moment, that's why so it's being unemployed is the most important thing that has happened to me. It might sound a little bit weird, but it's what gives me time. I have time because I'm unemployed and I rely on things that I do. Like now I'm in Germany for the whole year on a fellowship. Before I was again in Germany, before I was, you know, so I hopped from one place to another. And I found that when I'm away of my home, I write better in a reflective way. So it's easier. Yeah. Right now, for instance, we are talking about the books that are coming. I've already started a collection of short stories, you know, which I'm on my fifth story. You know, it's also, it's just because, you know, so the more people buy my books is the more I get, I can afford to say, I don't need to work, you know, because I can
and
live.
Then you can write more.
Yeah, I can live through the royalties and write more. Yeah.
Okay, I was asked this question about a week ago, and I'm going to throw it as well to you. What exactly were you doing at Jayas? Apart from going to sing karaoke.
Oh, okay. No. That's where actually I wrote this book. Okay, let me just tell you that I went to Jayas with a lot of notes for my new book, Paradise and God. I went there with lots of notes that I thought I would be able to, you know, to.
I swear, Nick, I thought you said nudes. I thought you said I went there with lots of nudes.
No. Okay,
but okay, notes. Okay.
But my friend, I met you and you took me to all these beer halls and then also to a karaoke. And then I was always suffering from babalas. I couldn't write many things. So that's how the book has come.
I deny it. I deny it. As everybody who knows me well, I stopped drinking in 2016.
Yeah, I know.
But on that note, Nick, my friend, it's been lovely.
Very lovely, thanks.
Thank you so much for making the time again after we failed the first time. Yeah. Everybody heard nudes. Everybody in the comment heard nudes. Even I heard nudes. Thank you so much, my friend. And it's been lovely. Thank you for being part of Afrolit 4. And see you when I'm in Germany or when you get back home. Definitely. Or when you come to Kenya.
I will definitely come to. Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting me.
A pleasure.
I appreciate it, and keep doing what you are doing, my friend. You are doing a very fantastic job, and then I'm definitely will talk about this. Yeah.
Okay, nudes. Thanks.